hello again, race fans, and welcome to the final round of Season 15. It's race 12 of 12, 100 laps here around the infamous Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home and crown jewel, of course, to the IndyCar series in real life, and no different here on iRacing whatsoever. So great to have you along with us here today. Of course, my name's Trevor Greenfield, and you are watching VirtualRacing.Network as we get set for the Care Camps 250. Of course, Care Camps, great organization out of Florida, helping out kids and their families and loved ones surviving cancer and getting them off to a great camp. We'll have fantastic information about them a little bit later on as we get set here today to conclude Season 15, as I mentioned, and it's quite an interesting season ender here. Of course, anytime you can return to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that's always going to be a fantastic venue to conclude your season at, and such a great site for all of these drivers who love Indianapolis, love being here, and love a chance to qualify and hopefully be able to finish well, finish their season off well, get up there into the points. And we do have some interesting points information to talk about for those of you who have been watching here on VirtualRacing.Network. And by the way, if you haven't, make sure to go ahead and subscribe, hit that big red button, and you'll get notified of all of our upcoming races. And of course, if you missed last week, that was a nail-biter at the end, as we had a photo finish between none other than David Strid and Graham Bunyan. And Strid taking pole position last week and managing to close out the deal and take that final win and pole position sweep leading into Indy. And so that has done his points good things for this week, and that will pretty much solidify him in the second position in the championship. But it's none other than Graham Bunyan who is the talk of the town, so to speak, and he is going to be crowned today's champion for season 15, and that'll mark 5 consecutive seasons in a row. I guess that's what consecutive means, for Graham Bunyan to take a championship here in the U.S. IndyCar League. And how great that is, as this is, of course, the very final season of the U.S. IndyCar League before it gets renamed into the International IndyCar League. And there you can see on screen, it was, in fact, A.J. Burton, who thus far has claimed pole position. To watch these drivers head around and set their times for today's race. Make sure to let us know over in the chat how you're doing and who you're rooting on. We'll do our best to give you information as we go along about your favorite drivers and where they're positioned. So far, Dominic Hart able to go second. Now, Jason Lowe tucking in there for third. Dan Ensch still on track, finishing up his second lap. We're going to see if he can manage to do a little bit better than his fourth spot. And he does not, but you can see Jason Lowe managing to take that fourth spot. Now Graham Bunyan slots into third. And I believe he's decided to sort of cancel his second lap here. I don't think he's going to be able to take pole position with a lap like that. We'll check over on Jimmy Drin, another speedy driver in the U.S. IndyCar League. I'm going to have to remember to start calling it the International IndyCar League here very shortly. Apologize for anybody that is listening to our first race next season is going to have to endure that. Jimmy Drennan, though, trying to get in this second lap and improve on that 10th place. And just as I say that, you can see a new name poke up to the top of the list. Fastest so far, the Master is back at it again this week. None other. No, that is not Jimmy Johnson in the 48 out there. That is actually David Strid. Took pole position at the high banks of Michigan last week and stole the show with a photo finish, ending what has been a pretty difficult season for Strid, but he's managed to pull out enough times, enough competitive finishes in the league that he's actually stayed quite up there in the points. And so we'll get a chance to talk here in just a moment about your points. In fact, this is probably about as good a time as any, as they're just wrapping up now on screen. So let's go ahead and take a look here at those points. So we can find them, because they are here somewhere, you know, somewhere in this list of stuff. There we go. It's Graham Bunyan, who is currently the man with the most points, and you can see he's done a fantastic job of that, stacking up well more than enough for him to stay in the lead of the points. But what we have is an interesting picture just behind him, because you can see where it says starts 11. Well, David Strid has done less starts than Jason Lowe, and so therefore when this corrects out, I believe it will be David Strid who takes second in the points. But nevertheless, it is going to be a tough battle, and you know, if Lowe can, he's going to try to finish and take a victory and hope that David Strid finishes further back, and vice versa if you're David Strid, just to solidify that second place. But it is quite a battle going on for that 4th and 5th position. You can see it with Dan Ensch and Mike West very much involved in that battle, and then still quite a few positions to play for behind. But still, today really, of course, belonging to one driver, actually 2 drivers, if I could say. And unfortunately, one of them not with us today, and that is going to be Howard Livingston, which is too bad, because I thought he had recovered and might be able to make it into today's race. Howard Livingston, of course, the reason for the care camps being brought to all of our attention here in the U.S. IndyCar League, and so we thank him very much for that. And of course, as I said before, we will get a chance to talk a little bit more about the care camps coming up, as well as Stick Quick, our presenting sponsor of the U.S. IndyCar League throughout the entire season of season 15 and for many seasons in a row. So here's your qualifying results and how they'll be starting out today. It's going to be David Strid starting alongside AJ Burton. And might as well just get the official qualifying grid up there. There we go. Dominic Hart will be starting on the 2nd row alongside Graham Bunyan. Jason Lowe will be starting in the 3rd row next to Dan Ensch. 4th row belonging to Ryan Bowles and MJ Ramirez. Mike West going to be starting next to Jimmy Drennan, and Richard Kelbaugh will be alongside Will Stearns. Taking a look just behind them, got Rick Lovison returning back in action today. Great to have him back. And DJ Lemon, first start for Lemon here in U.S. IndyCar League. And great to have a new driver here in the field. Don Reedy also here today, and David Worrell going to be able to make it into today's race. Great to have Dave in the cave. So we get set for today's action. Let's take a look at some of the information. Of course, as you know, it is a 2.5, actually measured 2.51 miles around. 86 degrees temperature on the track at the moment. Now, if that starts heating up, we may have some issues with tire degradation, but so far, no real big deal. 7 miles per hour, the wind, that should not affect these drivers too much out here today. So we get set for 100 laps of fun flying action around the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And who can forget last season? It was Dominic Hart in his debut here on VirtualRacing.Network, able to take pole position and come back and take victory. And that was some pretty amazing stuff. Now, is Hart going to be able to do something here from 3rd position here today? Well, he's got David Strid, last week's winner, and AJ Burton, who's also taken victory here in the U.S. IndyCar League. Strid leads us to the green flag, and they start to file in behind. And you can see Jason Lowe And now we've got several cars having issues. I believe it's just Hart. It looked like several cars were going to get caught up in that incident, but Hart having an issue on that opening lap. And now you can see Burton, the Team I5G driver, already marching up to the front and getting by David Strid, and he'll be the first one to lead a lap here, unless he Dominic Hart's it. And he does not, so under the flag man for the first lap under green here today, and it's Burton with Strid in tow, Graham Bunyan in third, Jason Lowe fourth, and Ryan Bowles in the field this week. So watch for Bowles to climb up in the points at the end of today as well. We'll see if we can get a live points readout at the end of this. Might take us a couple extra seconds, but it'll be worth it. We'll get a final Season 15 rundown if we can. And in the meantime, up at the front, it is AJ Burton. He's going to lead another lap here as they come under the flag stand for starting the third lap, and it's Strid. We just missed that. I was trying to switch the cameras. It looks like Strid managed to take that position back from Burton, and now these two might be looking either to swap this draft, or perhaps one of them wants to control the front. We'll watch and see how dramatic this gets as far as trying to take these positions, or whether or not they simply allow them to swap. So that's generally the way that they do it. But once again, so great to have you with us here, VirtualRacing.Network. Make sure to check in with us down there in the chat room. Let us know how you're doing. Dominic Hart did check in with us just before the race, and he was letting us know, good luck, everyone, and have a great race. And so far, it's been pretty clean. Now, we're going to take a look, if we can, get back to that opening lap incident. And so this was on that opening lap. If we can keep our eyes on Dominic Hart. That's Graham Bunyan getting through that. There we go. That's Dominic Hart. We can go perhaps back to that and see if we can catch from overhead exactly what took place. It's from the blimp view. You see Hart ahead. Now he just gets loose on the apron, slides off, and everybody kind of gets around. So fortunately no other drivers making contact in that incident. And back to the live picture, it looks like it's grouped back up again. So this had started to break open a little bit, but now working on the fifth lap, it looks like all these drivers coming back together again. So first through fifth, even sixth place covered by not much. And Burton hangs to the outside, tries to swap draft with David Strid, and so far these two with Graham Bunyan in tow not able to walk away from the rest of the field. Unfortunately, we've also seen some other news there that it looks like Mr. Stickwick, Richard Kelbaugh, has had to disconnect, unfortunately, and that is real sad news, because we'd love to have Mr. Stickwick on track for this final race of the season while we talk about Stickwick. Of course, they've been a fantastic sponsor, as I've mentioned, to the US IndyCar League for multiple seasons in a row. And we do thank them so much for their support. Stickwick.com. You'll get a chance to hear a little bit more about them as well here in the near future, but paying a lot of the bills as far as the broadcasting fees go here for VirtualRacing.Network. And so, of course, we're very, very thankful of them, as well as all the competitors and the fans, everybody who comes out to support this US IndyCar League race each and every race. It's amazing Also, every single race here on the VirtualRacing.Network completely sold out virtual fans in the stands. Indy, no exception. You can see it. I don't even know where they come from, but look at over 250,000 virtual fans in those stands, and you can certainly understand why with racing action like this at the front. Swapping draft at the front, David Strid and AJ Burton now working on their 9th lap of 100. How is this one going to play out? Will they be able to continue draft swapping at leisure? Or will it be Graham Bunyan who will seize the day and come in and make it a 3-car battle? Will it be Jason Lowe who will say Forza crowd as the 004 looks on to this group? Well, here's how it looks on board from Lowe's machine. As he charges down this infamous front straightaway and past the pagoda on his left. See a little bit more what it would be like to be in the actual cockpit of these machines. And now, got to keep in mind, Jason Lowe actually races with virtual reality headset, and so as some of these drivers do, and so you do get a lot of that effect of the shakiness, of the bounciness. You do get a lot of what it's like to actually sit in the cockpit, and it's something that I've not personally experienced thus far. We do have a yellow flag, though. It looks like DL Lemon and Don Reedy possibly having a coming together here on the backstretch. Let's see if we can tell what happened. And this is already well into it. We'll see if we can back up. Now, this would be DL Lemon here. And it appears as though the 14 just ricocheted off the wall and straight into Don Reedy. We'll see if we can back that up just a little bit more here and take one more look at it. See if we can tell exactly what happened. So as we jump on board with DL Lemon, he headed into the corner. He's holding the line pretty well, and then there's nowhere for him to go. Unfortunately, Don Reedy coming across the track and tagging him. And so DL, you know, I'll just say it is kind of infamous a little bit in the iRacing circles. Quite a presence over on the iRacing forums for the IndyCars, and actually quite a capable driver, as we have seen him many times be able to get up there in the top results in official racing. So while we are under caution here, why don't we go ahead and do our favorite thing, which is to pay some bills, and we'll let the Care Camps organization tell you a little bit more about what they do. Today's race sponsor. You won't miss anything, as we're now side by side.
Leukemia. I was diagnosed with lymphoma Hodgkin's disease, rhabdomyosarcoma.
I had Burkitt's lymphoma.
I was diagnosed at age 3 with leukemia.
It was hard because I did lose all my hair.
During my chemo, I had a tumor in my shoulder, so we had to take out my shoulder blade.
I was on chemo for 3 or 4 years.
In the hospital for about 4 years.
I relapsed when I was 6.
I've actually had cancer twice.
Of course, you would never think that you're going to be the one to have cancer.
teens who come here don't have to explain why they look different, why they sound different. They don't have to explain why they don't have hair or an arm. They just can come here and be themselves.
You know, a lot of times when they lose their hair or when they're not feeling well, like they just feel really alone. And so to be able to come to a camp where everybody, no matter what age you are, has gone through the same thing or is going through the same thing is amazing for them.
They've been through a tremendous ordeal, and after a week of not thinking about that, not thinking about their next blood draw, not thinking about their next challenge, but just focusing on the moment and being in such a special place and surrounded by beauty, I think it does give them an opportunity to recharge their batteries.
Having it be the biggest event that these kids will ever experience, is just a massive, massive gift that we can give them.
The consistent and generous support that we have received from care camps is extremely important in allowing us to make this a cost-free experience for so many people whose lives have been affected by cancer.
We're able to bring all these wonderful kids to camp because of donations.
And of course, we are so very happy to have the Care Camps organization and awareness brought to our attention. They do such great work, and obviously Howard Livingston also bringing that awareness each and every week, and the reason why we get to talk about the Care Camps 250 here at the end of the season. And it's become quite a special race, of course, but again, unfortunately, Howard not with us in the race today. He did make last week at Michigan, but you can understand, Michigan is a bit different than Indy. There's a lot more lifting to do, etc. Now, on track, this is very interesting. Jason Lowe and MJ Ramirez choosing to not pit and take tires, and we will see how that works out. Take tires and fuel. We'll see how that works for these drivers as we head back to green flag here. They will have a little bit lighter of cars, and possibly will be able to keep that car on track and in front for quite a while until the end of the stint. So we'll see how this works out in terms of strategy. Everybody else coming down into the pits, as you saw here live. We're getting back to green flag action here, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for round 12, the finale of season 15. Jason Lowe leads it into turn 1 once again on lap number 15. MJ Ramirez there in second place. David Strid running third, and of course that train still pretty much the same as it was. Strid, Burton, now Burton trying to swap that draft with Strid and get in front. Graham Bunyan just in tow. Ryan Bowles, Jimmy Drennan, Dan Ensch, Rick Lovison, and Will Stearns. That's your top 10. Dominic Hart did manage to get into the pits and get everything taken care of, so any amount of damage to those tires or issues, I don't think he hit anything, but if he did, he would have been able to get that fixed on that pit stop as well. DL Lemon out of the race, Don Reedy out of the race, and Richard Kelbaugh also out of the race so far, but Jason Lowe under attack here. MJ Ramirez just behind, pulling up tight, and AJ Burton now going to try the high side on MJ. MJ keeps it down low. And through the corner, it's Burton who perhaps emerges in front. Yes, he does. He steals that position from MJ. And now Burton goes for the lead. AJ Burton to the lead with fresh tires and fuel here on lap 17. Now, will Jason Lowe, with that slightly lighter car, be able to make the pass headed into turn 3 and begin what we effectively know as the twice-a-lap draft swap, which if you have a car that's really closely matched with your competitor, it's pretty much a de facto thing that you're going to do, because you get this really long draft down the straight, and it's either you back out, save some fuel, like perhaps AJ Burton might be trying to do in this exact second, or if you want to try to pull away from the cars behind, well, you just try this draft swapping technique of passing into turn 3 or turn 1. So as they head down the backstretch, take a look at the rest of the top 5. David Strid still hanging on to 4th. Graham Bunyan in 5th position. Ryan Bowles now bringing up in 6th, and Jimmy Drennan in 7th. Jimmy's gained 3 spots here today. Dan Ensch, though, kind of suffering a little bit. He says he's going to go for it today, but so far he hasn't really had the chance to go for it yet. Dropped 2 positions so far, running in 8th. Rick Lovison up 4 spots from where he started, currently running in 9th. And you can see Will Stearns and now Dominic Hart really anxious to get back to that lead group. See how long it's going to take before Hart, is a very experienced driver, very fast IndyCar racer, and has a new livery, by the way, this week. For those of you who can see it. See if we have a, of course, we have a wonderful virtual camera here. There we go. And you can see it's Hesketh Racing, which don't worry about that, just SDK. Just SDK deciding to have more issues today. So we didn't lose SDK, thank goodness. And we're still covering the race. So back up at the front, it's Jason Lowe who leads AJ Burton and Mauro Ramirez in 3rd place. And I tell you, this would actually be quite a fantastic thing for Jason to get a win here. He's had such a turbulent season. At one point, he was in the lead for multiple races as Graham Bunyan struggled a little bit in the early races of this season, and it looked so good and so promising for Jason to perhaps take this final season of the U.S. IndyCar League's championship, but a little bit of miscues in the mid-season and not quite able to match the pace of Graham Bunyan and David Strid over the middle of the season has left him just pretty much a solid runner for that 2nd and 3rd spot. But it's been a great season return for Jason Lowe to competitive form, and he's definitely looked like the championship competitor who brought 3 consecutive championships to himself just before the reign of championships began for Graham Bunyan in season 11. So this would mean a lot to Jason to be able to take victory here. And of course, when you got some drivers the caliber of AJ Burton and Graham Bunyan, David Strid, and now MJ Ramirez, who anytime MJ's got his sights set on the front, you know he's got a good race car. And well, he's podiumed here in the league before, and he may very well do it again here today. So we keep watching on. It does look like now there Lowe has decided that he is going to go ahead and pull it into the pits. So Lowe now going to be taking his mandatory service, and that means that Mauro Ramirez is going to have to do the same thing here very shortly, as he was the other driver. So we watch on as Mauro stays in tow. MJ Ramirez, as he's known, stays in tow. And there he will pull it into the pits and take his service. So in the meantime, where did that put Jason Lowe? Well, it put him back in 13th place. And so far, he's 34 seconds off of this lead, falling out quite quickly as he has nobody to draft with. So that's probably the bigger issue. If we take a look back here, and then maybe we'll put the put some stuff up on the screen so you can like follow along with what's happening. I mean, let's get some information for you viewers. So you see Jason Lowe kind of partying by himself in front of the big group. And once again, that's, well, I guess it's well behind the big group. He needs Mauro Ramirez, who's just now exiting the pits, to be able to catch up and be able to help him out and stay in front of this group. Otherwise, he might get trapped a lap down should the cautions begin, or should the caution cycle begin. But we'll see what happens and what the move is for Jason Lowe. He's put himself off strategy with MJ Ramirez, and we'll see whether that works out in the long run. But not very far back from him is this duo, AJ Burton and David Strid, swapping draft with Graham Bunyan in tow. It's, as you can see, AJ Burton is part of the Team I5G IndyCar squad, very elite squad in IndyCar racing on iRacing. And honestly, those I5G drivers have a lot of big races to go and race around with, and so that's maybe why we don't see as much participation from AJ Burton. He's got his hands full with his commitments as they are. But it's great to have a driver the caliber of AJ step in. We've seen some other fantastic drivers that are very notable over the season step in here. And you see these two drivers swapping draft. This is really what is done on the regular. If you're in iRacing and you're racing at Indy, I mean, this is just this is the way that it goes pretty much every race when you're doing iRacing. And so it's just great to have top split drivers here. And not only that, but it gives a great challenge. And even though he's the unofficial teammate to Graham Bunyan, AJ Burton, a good friend and a great challenger to the likes of David Strid and Graham Bunyan. So, you know, just kind of keeps them on their toes a little bit to get better and better competition coming in and trying to shake it up. And speaking of which, if you're watching today and you'd like to get involved with the US IndyCar League, you want to get out there, it's actually a free entry into the league. Now, I can't promise next season it will be free, but I believe it will. And it's very minimal qualifications. Just got to show that you are competent behind the wheel of an IndyCar. And they'll let you come out and practice on Saturday. So the way to do that is to go down in the description, click on the link. It'll take you right over to the member page, and you'll be set up to talk to, well, you can go ahead and apply to the US IndyCar League. It's soon to be the International IndyCar League. And you will be talking to Jason Lowe. Jason will get back to you and, like I said, let you come out for Saturday practice, and then we'll get you into the Sunday race. And you'll be out here racing the likes of AJ Burton, David Strid, and Graham Bunyan, Jimmy Drennan, and Dan Ensch. And while we're on the subject, of course, do appreciate everybody watching here today. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that big red button over there. I heard somebody do it earlier. Greatly appreciate all you subscribers. We're getting upwards of 300 subscribers now on this channel, and it's amazing because we pretty much just broadcast IndyCar racing and have just been broadcasting this one league here, US IndyCar League, for the most part this year. So just great to have so many great IndyCar fans, appreciators of iRacing and virtual sim racing, and just how much it's grown up here in the last 5 years. I just can't believe the last 10 years. It's unbelievable to think that not that long ago, something like iRacing was just a dream when we were out there go-karting in Southern California in the mid-90s or late 90s, and dreaming of something like this to keep us engaged and keep us racing online and everything. And now here it is, 2022, And what a phenomenal thing. It looks realistic, right? We're broadcasting in 4K, ultra high definition. All thanks to iRacing and thanks to all these competitors who have found their way into their driver's seats. And as a result, we get to have some fantastic racing here amongst IndyCar fans and drivers as well. So AJ Burton leading us here over David Strid, and you see Will Stearns now trying to exit the pits after taking tires and fuel. Burton, Strid, Bunyan, Drennan, and Ensch is your top 5. Ensch, we were talking about it earlier. He said he was going to go for it. Well, the man is making it work, and he is a man of his word. He's racing for a different kind of awareness, of course, to end the ALZ, the Alzheimer's, and there you can see him deciding to make that pit stop now. So him deciding this is the right lap to get in and get my pit stop done. Back up to the front, out the backside of the Burton mobile. Looking at David Strid and Graham Bunyan. You couldn't have a more positive view out your rear view mirror than that. You're looking at a couple of really good friends and virtual teammates. You know, I say virtual teammates, it's really, and here comes Burton in for his stop, which probably means Strid and Bunyan will not be that far behind, but we do have a couple other drivers. Bowles now making his way in, and Dave Worrell, Dave in the cave back there. And also, kind of forgotten what I was originally going to say there, but I was returning the point because I wanted to talk about Ryan Bowles for a minute. Bowles was actually having a fantastic season. He took a victory earlier in the season. Go back to my notes here and see. It was the first race at Pocono, as we now see David Strid, your leader, coming into the pits, pushing all that clean air does take its toll. And also seeing Hart and Rick Lovison and Mike West, who's involved in that battle there for 5th place in the championship, or 4th place, excuse me, with Dan Ensch. So we'll keep an eye on that battle. But yeah, unfortunately for Bowles, even though he had that victory, it of course then would have been the championship leader after the first round, Bowles had a few races that he had to miss, and as a result, the points kind of went away, and very unfortunate for him, as we see another driver coming into the pits. That's Jimmy Drennan making his next green flag stop. Putting his all-black trading paints livery machine down onto pit road. Still holding in second place as Graham Bunyan continues around, the last driver to not make that final stop yet. Or not final stop, excuse me, to not make that green flag stop yet. So we'll see whether Graham can pull out some time or whether the undercut strategy manages to put him down a little bit. But Bunyan now stopping in. So let's see if we can tell what their last lap time was. So 40.66 from Bunyan. And we'll see whether or not these other drivers, you see Ensch with a 40.32 and Bowles with a 40.34. So indeed a half a second quicker for some of these drivers. Let's take a look at AJ Burton, 40.86 last time by. We'll see whether he goes faster this time by. We can see Jason Lowe right there in tow. So Lowe had a great pit stop. And in fact, so Burton now goes back into the lead. He did a 41 flat that time by. So as these drivers are kind of wrestling in traffic, not able to make up quite as much time. There you see Graham Bunyan coming out. So there's Bunyan. And you can see he's a ways back. That's 1.6 seconds back. So we'll have to wait to see whether this can straighten out and he can start to claw back in that lead group. But Bunyan not really coming back out as he's known for these pretty much perfect pit stops. Not really able to close in on that top 3 group after that cycle of pit stops. And he doesn't really need to do anything today, to be quite honest. Graham Bunyan basically, I don't even think he needed to race today. I think he would have gotten the Season 15 championship. But nevertheless, who doesn't want a podium in this final race? Who doesn't want to take victory here in the final race of the season, the final race of the U.S. IndyCar League? And talking with Graham Bunyan last week off the air, just, you know, first of all, Graham has also had a difficult season. First, it was technical problems that caught him out early on. And now we can also see that just on time, Graham Bunyan putting in the fastest lap of the race there with a 40.195. We were just talking about fast laps. And so he's managed to climb right back up into that consideration at the front. But Graham had a difficult season this season, as I was mentioning. He had some technical difficulties with his sim rig, I believe also with his virtual reality. And so, hearing some tires squealing, but so far all 4 drivers staying freshly planted on that pavement. And then things started to come together for Graham, but it was just a couple of weeks ago that Graham actually had to step aside. I want to say it was last week, but memory's a little foggy there. But just within the last 2 weeks, he's had to get surgery, unfortunately, and it's not ridiculously painful surgery to the point where he can't operate the cockpit, as you can see, but it was for a couple of days, and it's going to require some long recuperation time. And so the pain was there, but fortunately he was able to get back out and race, unlike Howard Livingston, who really, with the broken foot, needed a long time to heal before he could get behind the cockpit again, or get behind the wheel again, excuse me. So Bunyan still recovering from that surgery and off of work at the moment, but able to come out and race with us. And so not only that, but through that adversity, kept his head down. He's come out for every single race. He has not missed a single race this season. And that type of commitment, that type of consistency and speed is the thing that wins you championships. And so Graham, you know, not getting his head down early on in the season when he could have been a little bit upset the way that things are going, maybe just go, I'll take the rest of the season off. I got other things to do. Nope. Every Sunday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, which is like Monday, 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning for him in Brisbane, Australia. Well, that's where Graham Bunyan is. He's in the cockpit of the Dallara IR-18 IndyCar. So 44 laps done here out of 100. And AJ Burton currently in control, swapping draft with Jason Lowe here into turn 3. And once again, what a fantastic thing. You know, of course, on iRacing, anytime if you're Jason Lowe or somebody else, whoa, Lowe pulling it into the pits there. And I think Burton tried to follow him in there for a second. He wasn't sure whether Lowe was just trying to pull to the inside and get rid of that toe that he had behind that draft. But Burton thinking about it and realizing Lowe was headed for the pits and backs out of that draft. But I was just going to say, it's quite, you know, if you don't do iRacing, okay, so maybe AJ Burton is not a name to you, not a household name. We did have Will Stearns, I believe, having an incident. Let's back it up and take a look. That's a little bit too far in. So let's see if we can go a little bit further back. This was Stearns pretty much by himself, and unfortunately puts it into the wall there off of, I believe that was turn 1. And now parked on pit road. So while these drivers are forming up for our second caution under the pace car, actually gives Jason Lowe kind of a leg up on everybody. He should take the lead again as he just took service. And we'll see how that all works out. We're going to go ahead and jump to a side-by-side. And unfortunate that we don't have Mr. Stickquick in the field, because what a great time to talk about Stickquick. Well, we've been talking about Stickquick for many seasons in a row, and as of course, we are so pleased to be able to do so here, the final race of season 15. Stickquick is that ultimate device that you need in your house, in your shop, in your life, at your work, in your car, in your kitchen. It's everywhere. You can put it by your front door to keep things handy by your front door. I've got a metal door, so I can just stick these things right onto my front door. Isn't that cool? So we watch everybody pile into the pits at the moment. But what is the Stickquick, you ask? Well, it's a very, very simple device, but you'll wonder how you've lived without it. Made of high-density, ultra-durable, chemical and UV-resistant silicone. The Stickquick is a silicone ring that you can put around any sort of tool, implement, instrument, anything in your life that you need to keep handy. And you can see here, these are markers and pens, pencils. Here's a flashlight that you'd want to keep handy right by your door or in your shop. Right there, you just put it right onto the shelf itself. And you just let your mind run wild. You use vapes. Do this with it. Put it all right up there. Right in front of you, right quick access. And of course, this makes the most sense being in motorsports. Organize your toolbox in ways that you could never imagine, and use places that aren't just drawers, but use actual, opening doors and things as storage as well. Let your mind run wild. These are actually very affordable. I'm 99% sure it was under $20 for my package of these. And you get 6 to a package. You can choose whichever of these colors you'd like. Multiple different colors to choose from. I like the bright ones. I have green. I like the bright ones just because they, if I have anything's ever lost, like a tool, I won't be able to immediately see where it is. But hey, choose the color that works for you. And head on over to stickquick.com. And I mean this personally. If you could, if you're looking for gifts for somebody in your life, holidays are going to be coming up right around the corner. You've got, we're just getting over graduation times, but you've got kids going back to school. You've got, you got people in your life that need help with organizing, and they're looking for something that maybe is, just a little unconventional, something that's going to be a head scratcher. I mean, this is even a cool stocking stuffer. So get it today, stickquick.com, very affordable. Buy a few if you can. Great for the holidays coming up. And make sure you tell them that you saw them on this broadcast, the U.S. IndyCar League. And they will be very happy to know that their advertising sponsorship dollars are working. And so, back here live, it's round number 12 of season 15, the carecamps.org 250. Of course, we talked about Care Camps already, presenting sponsor of this race, and the great work that they do for cancer surviving kids and those suffering with cancer, as well as their loved ones, their families, their friends. So make sure to head over to carecamps.org as well. Stickquick.com and carecamps.org for today's sponsors. So great to have them on board and bringing awareness of all of these great groups to our attention. So AJ Burton going to be leading us back to the green flag here under that second caution caused by a self-spin from Will Stearns in today's finale. And we're just about to halfway. So once again, great to have you with us here. in the chat room and let us know. We've got close to 20 of you watching now. Where are you watching from in the world? Let us know. Are you an iRacer? Do you race Indy cars? Are you looking at Indy cars maybe? A lot of people looking at Indy cars right now. That exciting race last night from Gateway, if you could stay awake long enough to get through that delay. But hey, Indy cars are where it's at in 2022. And we've got them right here. The best, AJ Burton, Team I5G, leads us back to the green flag on lap number 49. So let's go ahead and jump on board with AJ. As he crosses that yard of bricks, we'll see what it's like to run here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Looking a very conservative line through turn 1, not coming down below the white line, but definitely visiting below the white line there through turn 2. Running at the upper end of the RPM range. You can see the lights flashing on the dash. Now we'll take a little bit of a shallow entry here into turn 3. Definitely getting below that white line, and now he'll plant that left side tire right on that white line. Coming through turn 4, very conservative exit. And that's what it looks like to ride around Indianapolis Motor Speedway with one of the best to do so. See, swapping draft here with David Strid, drivers, masters of these Dallara IR-18 Indy cars and how to make those adjustments. We haven't even talked about making those adjustments here today, but they are so crucial. Of course, you've got that weight jacker. Weight jacker basically cranks the right rear tire up a little bit or down a little bit, depending on what you want. It makes the car drive off or take less pressure on that right rear tire. So you'll either get better turn by going up or less turn by going down. And that, of course, does affect the tire wear rate on those right rear tires. You got to be real careful with jacking that up. You can spin you right around real fast if you're not paying attention. But then you have a couple of other adjustments. Of course, we have, so we see David Strid now march back up to the front with two virtual teammates behind. I say virtual because they're not official teammates, but they do run together and know each other quite well. David Strid, Burton, and Bunyan. But other adjustments would be the fuel richness adjustment, the fuel map, as it's known. And you really have quite a lot of choices. You can do some interesting things saving fuel if you can run behind another driver and stay in that draft. So you can get quite aggressive on leaning out the car and saving fuel that way, perhaps overcoming your competition's ability to save fuel and stay up there in that lead and conserve until the end of the race, and perhaps you get a race win based off of saving fuel. So another way is to adjust those anti-roll bars. Now, anti-roll bar adjustment during the course of the race is it's kind of an extreme thing to do, if I can say. It just really comes down to how the setup is built, and without getting too complex about it, these things do not operate in a vacuum. So if you adjust the anti-roll bar, it literally affects every other setting on the car, or at least it affects every other point on the car that makes contact with the road and interacts with other components in the setup. So you make one adjustment like an anti-roll bar change, it's in some ways the same as making an adjustment deeper in the setup. And so that's a good thing if that's what you want. Unfortunately, it's not a good thing a lot of times, because it just makes too many adjustments at once, and it essentially changes very much the handling characteristics on the car. So you really have to be careful with those sorts of adjustments, the anti-roll bar adjustments. And yes, there are ways to make it so that the anti-roll bar doesn't adjust quite so heavily. And generally you change that with, as we see, drivers going 3 wide here on the front straight for the lead. Probably not intentional, but I'm sure that they're seeing Dominic Hart starting to close up here in 4th position, and he's got Mauro Ramirez in tow. So this is a group that's coming together here very rapidly, and very quickly we might see this front group lose their advantage. So all part of playing that draft game very, very well and paying attention to what's happening up in front of you. There, we finally managed to get Mauro's information updated about 3 different places where you have to update that, but he is, of course, now racing for Velocity Online Racing. And just in front of him, Dominic Hart. For a while, thought he was racing for the Porsche Tag Heuer series or company. I thought Dominic out there got his Tag Heuer on, probably going to go hop behind the wheel of his Porsche later on this afternoon, but nope, just a big fan. But here racing with Hesketh Racing now. I mean, I think that's a throwback, if I'm not mistaken, to, yes, in fact, that is throwback to the old James Hunt Hesketh ride for Formula One. So cool to see some tribute liveries coming out. And perhaps James Hunt, one of Dominic's heroes growing up, of course. Quite a story, that guy, James Hunt. But Dominic Hart currently running in 2nd place, as you saw there, David Strid peel off into the pits. AJ Burton doing the same thing. Currently Strid taking fuel and tires on lap number 59, so that'll leave him 40 laps remaining. Check over here in my notes. And Dan Ensch letting us know I mean, he's telling me 18 to 20, so I guess this would work. So we saw Graham Bunyan pulling it into the pit. Sorry, it got away there. Bunyan taking on what will be his 2nd to last stop of the day, coming in right on lap 60. So once again, some of the tricks of the trade of snagging these wins. So let's say that you are Graham Bunyan, who now just about to exit the pits here. Stick on board and you can see kind of what it's like to exit the pits. Quite aggressive. You get very far out to just about to come out into the short chute, and then very quickly tuck it back to the left side so you can make it through what is essentially turn 2. Kind of a tricky pit out here. Pit in is it's so deceptively straight on that I think you're, at this point you're doing 220 plus miles per hour on the track, and you can see here now 228, 229 into the corner, and you're confronted with that pit in, and it's just so easy to kind of lose track of how fast you're going. You've got to get all the way down to pit speed, and there's not really any sort of, you've got the attenuator at the end of pit road, but there's not really any other benchmarks to help you. There's no like numbers on the fence or anything like that. No braking markers or anything to tell you how much space you have to get down to that pit road speed. So you've got to really practice your pit in so that you understand how much space there is. But the pit out can be very tricky, and the trick is just keeping it flat-footed through that whole pit out sequence, and not hitting that grass as you exit. And it could be so easy to hit that grass. If you do, it is like ice, and you're going right up the track and possibly in the way of another vehicle. So you definitely got to keep your head in the game. There's no resting time. I guess the only time that you can rest is that 8 seconds when you're sitting in your pit box. And even then, you've got to be ready to drop the hammer and head back out there on the track. But this is quite an interesting trio that has emerged at the front of this group between Hart, Lowe, and Ramirez. And this is basically 3 different groups that we have emerged of 3 drivers working together, and I don't know who's going to win this. But I have a feeling it's going to be one of the drivers in one of these 3 groups that will emerge as the front runner here. As you see Mike West pit in, he's of course involved in that battle. You see him really smoke those tires getting down to pit speed limit here at Indy. So we're just now approaching 2/3 of the way done. Continue this agonizingly long pit road here, taking service. But so we have these 3 groups. So we've got this lead group here. I'll revert to cycling terminology. But so we've got this lead group of Hart, Lowe, and Ramirez. Then you've got this second group that is Dan Ensch and Rick Lovison. Lovison having a fantastic run here today in the Berkshire Resort Lodge machine. And of course, Mike West was part of that group. And then you have this other group that has already made their second to last pit stop. And this is Graham Bunyan, AJ Burton, and David Strid, kind of all running nose to tail. So how will it work out? I think that'll matter depending on the cautions. But this second chase group here, trying to keep their noses from hitting each other. Back up to the lead. Hart just doing whatever he can to put in fast times and try and keep in the lead, not destroy those tires. So we can see their pit strategy here on the screen, and you can see how long some of these drivers have been out. So 20 laps now for the top 5. We expect all of them to come in this lap. We'll see whether or not that rings true. And in fact, he does not. So Hart able to stay out there and stay running on fumes somehow. So Lowe continuing down the backstretch. All these drivers. So you see Hart there kind of weaving to try to find that draft of Mike West, who has fallen back a little bit and is looking for a drafting partner since falling out of that group. And now Hart continuing. So Hart actually pitted last on lap 46. This would be 23 laps in. Of course, there was a couple of yellow flag laps, but still some excellent fuel saving from Dominic Hart, who, you know, this is what I was earlier I was trying to say about Graham Bunyan. And this is one of the tricks of the trade. If you can manage to squeeze another lap out on pit road, it's just going to mean less time in the pits. And that's all that means. As you see, Ensch and Mike West have rejoined together. Now Hart and Lowe and Mauro Ramirez all come in together. You see Lowe pushing that cone down pit road. But unless anybody got a speeding penalty, there'll be no problems there. I do remember not that long ago when you could hit a cone in iRacing and severely damage the car, but I don't think it's quite as severe as it once was. So these three pitting in from the lead, and now Graham Bunyan coming around turn 4, still going to have to work an entire lap to take back this lead. So we'll get that track map back up there. Watch live on the screen as now, actually, I had it wrong. Burton and Bunyan now have taken that lead as they went past the pits there. So able to take the lead there. You see that group just behind of Lowe, Hart, and Ramirez. So Lowe with a better pit stop than Hart. And MJ, Lowe really doing better in recent races as far as getting better pit stops in. Kind of curious how that has played out for him, but this is the lead group here with 29 laps to go. It's Graham Bunyan, AJ Burton, and David Strid, and I know that Strid would like to be able to put as many points over Jason Lowe as possible. I'm not exactly sure where it would correct out as they run right now. We'll have to wait for the final season tally to be done for us. But suffice to say, if Strid wants to take second place in the championship, he's going to try to do anything he can to take third, second, or first and make sure that Lowe stays behind. Now, Graham Bunyan, again, he's probably playing for pride, and who wouldn't want to end up in victory lane here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway? So many great drivers having done so over the seasons. But he would be able to take his 15th, or excuse me, his 5th straight championship crown and take victory, and what a great way to do so. But, you know, Graham is not really that way. He doesn't really think in those terms necessarily, and so it might be time to let AJ Burton take that victory as well. A driver who has in the past just popped in and able to snag victory here in the U.S. IndyCar League, but not able to so far this season. And so that would be quite the feat to come in and basically one off and be able to steal the show. So Burton continues in the lead here, and I have no idea how many laps these people have led until after the end of the race, but he's certainly in contention to take that most laps led moniker away and take that extra bonus point as well. Graham Bunyan back up into the lead on lap number 74, just about an even quarter century of laps to do here coming up this next lap. So just 25 more to decide the Care Camps 250. So grateful for these drivers bringing out 2 cautions that we could play those commercials. It worked out just perfectly, but we don't need any more cautions now. Love to see how this one can finish up. In the meantime, if you're paying attention a little bit further back, this is Jason Lowe, the 004 machine, and that is Dominic Hart, who's just gotten back up in front. They're trying to swap draft, but they're going to have to climb 3.6 seconds in order to be able to get back up there. And I just don't know if that's going to be possible, as now it does look like that interval continues to grow, but we'll keep an eye on that. A little bit further back, this is Dan Ensch. Dan, and now Dan mixing it up with MJ Ramirez, as well as Mike West. And unfortunately, Rick Lovison getting the rough end of this group and ending up a little bit further back. We do have Will Stearns back out there, though. He did manage to get that damage fixed, continuing there in 10th place. and Mr. Stick Quick, Richard Kelbaugh. Must have had a technical problem to start the race, but great to have him back out there, and always great to see the green and black machine attacking at it. He's actually had a fantastic season, Richard Kelbaugh has, especially earlier on in the season, but consistently qualifying much better this season up towards the front, and a couple of times getting in early laps that were actually very, very competitive. And so I'd have to say he would be our most improved driver of the season. It's been quite amazing to watch him climb up and finish up towards the front, and we'll love a chance to be able to talk with Rick here very soon. Of course, we always would love to talk with any of these drivers post-race. So come on over after the race and hang out in the waiting room, and we'll see if we can fit in an interview with you guys and everyone else who's racing in the US IndyCar League. So, watching here live, again, it's Burton and Bunyan swapping the draft at the front with David straight in tow, and these three pretty much have it in command. 3.7 seconds back, and still holding Jason Lowe and Dominic Hart, just trying everything they can to try to gain and claw back some time. See if they can manage to get up there and mix it up. But you can see Burton now pulling it in. He's going to do the undercut strat, and he's bringing it in with 22 to go, so he's very confident that he can make it to the end. But Burton going to undercut Strid and Bunyan. And that undercut strategy not really as advantageous here because we still, there's no sunshine out here at the moment. And so, as you can see from the weather on your screen, just 87 degrees Fahrenheit on the track. And that is not very warm at all. So not really going to affect these tires too much and cause them to wear. But what we do normally see, if that is the case, where the tire temperature goes up dramatically, you typically will see fall off, time fall off and tire fall off pretty significant. And so usually what you'll end up seeing is drivers make the undercut strategy several laps before you could get to the end with your fuel, so that they can get the advantage on lap times and be able to take an overall advantage and possibly pass somebody in the pits. So now we see Jason Lowe making his pit stop just behind Graham Bunyan, and Dominic Hart will continue around and lead with just 20 laps remaining. Dan Ensch and MJ Ramirez behind. So again, these drivers that are out there right now are going to be able to take less time in the pits. So we're watching Graham Bunyan still holding on pit road. And that is, we're going to see whether or not that's going to get him out in front of his two compatriots. As he heads out of the pits, there you see AJ Burton just approaching, and a big gap to David Strid. On board the 101 machine, soon to be crowned 5-time consecutive champion of Graham Bunyan. You can see he's managed to, with that overcut and being able to go the extra little distance, the extra lap, he's able to shave maybe a half a second off of that time, and as a result, he's about 0.3 of a second ahead when he comes out of the pits over AJ Burton, who tried to take that undercut strategy. And once again, Graham is fantastic getting in and off of pit road, but AJ Burton also very experienced at doing so. Back up at the front, however, it's Dominic Hart with 18 to go. Currently 4.3 seconds back to Dan Ensch. Mike West there, not part of that picture, so Mike West falling off the lead strategy. But Dan Ensch and Mauro Ramirez fighting it out there for second place on the track. And pretty soon, they'll be pulling it into the pits. And so this is the big question. How many more laps can they go? They last came in on lap 233. I'm sorry, lap 233, excuse me. Lap 67 for Dan Ensch, lap 69 for Mauro Ramirez. And so as we're now on 83, one would think that Dan would be able to stretch to 87, 88, lap 87, lap 88, and MJ might be able to go a little bit further to about lap 90 of 100. Now, what'll happen if we do have, and by the way, we have Jimmy Drennan now on pit road. I believe taking repairs, or perhaps having to sit and wait for a speeding penalty. Also now getting Rick Lovison down for his final stop here today, hitting out of 4th place. So Rick having a very good run, staying very consistent, keeping that car very clean. Take one good look there at this car. We don't get to show it very often on screen, but what a beautiful machine. I mean, we don't get to show the full color, but really just such a cool livery here for Berkshire Lakeside Lodge. I guess I have such an appreciation for it because it's so hard to do these liveries and get all of this stuff to line up right. But there you can see Dominic Hart and then Dan Ensch a little ways back. Flash by Rick Lovison as he rejoins Lovison rejoining in 9th place. So as we come to the close here of season 15, just 15 laps remaining. Ensch now pulling it in. Mauro Ramirez will continue on, as does Dominic Hart, just in front, 4.4 seconds in front. MJ Ramirez also, you know, so many interesting stories happening this season, and MJ, Mauro Ramirez, they're one of those interesting stories. As we continue to watch Dominic Hart up in front, you see Mike West there behind, and pretty soon I'm sure we will see Dominic Hart pull it in. But MJ, actually, two different things for him. One, he started the season with 2 other teammates and in a different team. And as does happen, sometimes things don't always go great with drivers, and people get a little hot under the collar. And so, unfortunately, some disagreements with it's so funny, these other drivers, they're nicest people in the world to talk to outside the cockpit, but once there's some disagreeing that can go on, you know, some heat and everything, you know, tempers flare, and so some decisions were made, and they've left the series since. But MJ dedicated, you can just tell that Mauro has loved racing in the US IndyCar League ever since he started, and been a great part of the community. And this season, when Rick Kelbaugh decided that it was time to retire as the race steward of the US IndyCar League, MJ decided to step right up and take over the position. And so now, not only does he handle that position very well and has stepped up to the plate and, you know, really made the continuing of the league here possible as far as having that position under control, but he provides an ample race report after each and every race, sign of a good steward who takes the time to completely review the race. And you see him here racing with Rick Lovison. That's not actually for position. Lovison a lap down now, because MJ still out there on this off strategy, and I'm sure he probably, well, I don't know if he'd love a yellow to come out right now or not. If it came out, I think everybody might come in to get tires, and so he could lead the way into the pits and come back out with fresh tires and fuel and not worry about losing the position. But I'm kind of curious where this is going to put the undercut strategy for some of these drivers. Now we see Dan Ensch has emerged back out here with Mike West. And so once again, these two drivers racing in the championship against each other. And it was quite tight before today. I'm going to take one more look here. Yes, in fact, it was Ensch who had 328 and West with 319. Both had the same number of starts. And of course, who can forget that Ensch managed to snag that victory in race number 3 this season. It was quite a special moment here on VirtualRacing.Network. Mike West taking victory, I believe, a couple of seasons ago in a fuel mileage race. And also having some good runs here as these drivers run each other real hard here at the end of the season. But MJ Ramirez making that final pit stop we talked about. AJ Burton, as you can see in the track map over on the right-hand side, going to be coming around to take that position here momentarily. And there he does. So Burton, Bunyan, and Strid march back up to the front, so I can definitely assuredly say that Ramirez would have liked a yellow flag there so that he could have taken care of all of this under the yellow. But possibly also not. I mean, maybe if these drivers decide not to take tires and he still needs to take tires and fuel at the end of this one, that may drop him to the back. There may not be any other takers, and so he may have had less of a chance to get up there into the top 5 than he currently does. But Morrow now in 8th. That's where he started. That's where he currently runs. So with 8 to go here, it's kind of shaping up that unless anything ridiculous happens on track, we're going to end up with a 3-way battle for the race win. It's probably fitting that it should come down to that, as Strid and Bunyan have ended up being the two drivers that have emerged at the front of this field, the cream that has risen to the top after so much tumultuous initial racing this season. And they just must be having so much fun up there running at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, just able to run with your friends at the front of a league race, end of the season. Graham knows he's got the championship. David knows that he's got second locked up if he can stay just far enough ahead of Jason Lowe that he's got at least another car between him. But I can guarantee you that as we get down to the final laps, one or more of these top 3 drivers will throw off the weight belts and throw out the sandbags, and we'll be seeing some definite scrapping for who's going to take victory here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Just behind, though, 4.85 seconds and closing a little bit, so we keep an eye on that, but he's only got 6 seconds or 6 laps to do it in. But Dominic Hart with Jason Lowe in tow. These drivers, Hart having an issue early on, but really recovering thanks to that yellow flag and able to bring it back into 4th place. That's 1 spot off of where he qualified. So good recovery drive from Hart today, but going to be a little short of making it onto the podium most likely. And Lowe now currently running in 5th. It's where he started the race today. He's had a chance today, but I think this is going to be a pivotal moment for Jason Lowe, where he's going to look at this and say, you know, a top 5, that ain't too bad. I'll take it. You know, and there's been a lot of races like that this season where Lowe is just maybe he's finished 3rd when he needed to finish 2nd. He's finished 5th when he needed to finish 3rd. Just not quite able to claw up there and get that last position that he needs to have a top championship fight for the whole season. But he's stayed more consistent than he has in previous seasons, and so the 3-time consecutive champion from a few seasons ago, he's returned to his winning ways. And you know, taking victory, second race of the season at Talladega Super Speedway, you know. You can say it doesn't take a lot of skill to win at a track like that, but you haven't tried to survive 190 miles in a Dallara IR-18 IndyCar at a track like Talladega or Daytona. But you can see here we've got Richard Kelbaugh having to take a final pit stop, and Dan Ensch once again racing on track. This is a three-way battle here for sixth position with 3 laps remaining, and all 3 of these drivers would love to take that position, as all 3 trying to add to their total. Dan Ensch kind of blinking out there for a second. Mike West now racing with MJ Ramirez, and I think Dan, with that blink out, kind of had to take his foot out of the throttle. And so that is going to really hurt his chances here today to be able to challenge for that lead spot in this race for 6th place. But just 2 laps to go now for Graham Bunyan. So we watch this battle continue on between Mike West and MJ Ramirez for that 6th place. Let's watch this final battle as it emerges up at the front. We'll go on board with the champ, Graham Bunyan. Looking back, there is, as they go under the white flag, there is AJ Burton. He decides not to swap draft into turn 1. That way he'll have a chance into turn 3. Will we see a 2-way or a 3-way battle for the lead? David Strid sits back. He's going to try to make this a 3-car battle potentially. Here comes AJ Burton to the inside. Past Graham Bunyan, the champ, who stays on the outside. Will Graham make it another move headed to the start-finish line? It's going to be a close one running off the line. As they exit turn 4, down the straightaway they come. It's Graham Bunyan who moves to the outside. Will he take the victory? And no, it does not appear he did. He lost by 2 1/1000ths of a second over AJ Burton. Wow, another photo finish. 2 photo finishes in a row here on VirtualRacing.Network for Graham Bunyan. Unfortunately, Graham ending up 2nd place on both of those finishes, but it won't matter. What great racing, and what a fantastic win for AJ Burton. Didn't qualify on pole here today, but manages to take victory at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So let's take a look at that. We'll take a look at that finish. So here it was on the backstretch just moments ago. Watching overhead, here's AJ Burton, who slides past Graham Bunyan, headed into turn 3. Now Bunyan decides that he's going to try to get that run off of turn 4. AJ stays high and then brings it back down to the inside. Bunyan makes the run down the line to the outside, could not quite do it. And there you saw it. Just a nose over the line. Graham Bunyan losing to AJ Burton, and what a fantastic victory for AJ, as I mentioned. Boy, there was so much passing up at the front. I have no idea how many lead changes technically there were, but let's go ahead and get your final results up there on the screen as they begin to celebrate. It's AJ Burton taking victory here. The Care Camps 250. Make sure to head over to carecamps.org and donate today. Great group. Head on over there today. Find out more information and get involved. Graham Bunyan taking 2nd place, but he'll take that season 15 crown and the final one of the US IndyCar League. David Strid finishes the season with a fantastic 3rd place. And he'll just celebrate anyway. Why not? It was a great season for David Strid as well. He managed to really turn it around at one point in the season and find that consistency. And he as well, you know, as much as Jason Lowe managed this season to, as they play around and have some fun with some very expensive in real life Dallara IR-18 IndyCars, but you can trash them however much you want after the race in iRacing. Some of the fun that you can have here. Just don't do it in an official race because you will get banned from iRacing for doing that kind of stuff. Dominic Hart. So David Strid and Jason Lowe both picked up their consistency this season, which is unfortunate for Lowe because Strid really managed to do quite well in picking up that consistency and taking second place in the championship. Hart finishing fourth today. Jason Lowe taking fifth. What could have been, if he could just somehow get up there and get second or first place, he may have taken second in the championship. We'll never know. Dan Ensch finishing sixth outside the top five. That's a great run for Dan. He's had so many great top tens this season. Again, consistent, and that's why he has been consistently looking at the top of the championship this season. Rick Lovison, a top 10, running well today, perhaps looking good for season 16. Mike West, a good run today. He'll be asking questions because he was running up there towards the top five. MJ Ramirez, same thing, off strategy, just kind of not able to get up there and get in at the end to get that podium or get that top five. Will Stearns had a self-inflicted incident. Otherwise, another good run for Will today, and consistently running in the top 10. So we'll see if we can get more good runs out of Will next season. Mr. Stickwick, Richard Kelbaugh, had a technical issue early on, and that set him back, unfortunately ending his string of top 10 finishes. But he'll finish in 11th today. Jimmy Drennan also suffering an issue today. Not exactly sure what caught him out, but he'll finish in 12th. Ryan Bowles had a great season this season. Took victory in our opening race today. Something catching him out. It's like he came in on the same lap as Jimmy Drennan, so possibly coming together with Drennan. But Bowles out of the race here today. Worrell, Reedy, and Lemon round out today's running order. So with that, we're going to check over into the Stick Quick Victory Circle and see if we can go ahead and grab. Let's go ahead and start with our fourth place finisher. Actually, we'll start with Dan Ensch real quick and get a moment with everyone's favorite end Alzheimer's driver, Dan Ensch. Hey, Dan, sixth place today. You had a really good race, though. You were part of a group that was off strategy, and it looked like with the right caution strategy, you might have been in the right place at the right time. Take us through your race. How was it today?
Actually, it was going pretty much according to plan. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. It was going pretty much according to plan, and I managed to stay up with the lead pack. I was short fueling a little bit to make sure I had the speed to stay with them, and it was working pretty good. And unfortunately, on that I think it was the last yellow, I got tagged a little bit going into pits, and it threw my timing off on pit entry, and I missed my box, and that put me back to the back of the field, and I never did quite make it up. But I think I had the right strategy today. Just a little bad luck. But, hey, I had a lot of fun. And, man, Morrow and Mike and me, oh, golly, I enjoyed that battle at the end. That was a lot of fun. The Alzheimer's Als.org car was flying today, looking pretty good. I'm so sorry Howard had to miss his own event, but, you know, families don't tend to schedule weddings and things into an iRacing schedule, and I'm sorry. We miss you, Howard. We also missed the Spaniards today. I wish they'd have been here for the finale. But what a great season. What a great race. Thank you to Stick Quick for sponsoring all season long. Thank you to everybody that sponsored races this year. And, man, I can't wait for the next one to start up again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan, and a great season for you. Not your highest finish, but a lot of great competition in the league this season, and it should get even more difficult next season. But yet another time that you get a chance to try it out and see if you can take first, second, or third, possibly in the championship, and add another race victory and some Alzheimer's.org awareness to your total. So, hey, Dan, great to have you with us this season, and good luck next season.
And thanks to you for everything you do for us too, Trevor. Thank you a bunch.
It's absolutely.
And grats to Graham and to AJ for the win.
Absolutely. Grats to Graham, AJ for the win, and always David Stritt. I know you and he and Jason Lowe always working together on those setups, and Stritt supplying most of those setups for the league. So, Dan, pleasure talking with you. Good luck to you next season as it becomes the International IndyCar League.
You betcha.
So that's Dan Ensch joining us from 6th place. He had a good race today, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to be able to take one of those top 5s that he's been known for. So we'll get a chance to talk with Dominic Hart, who joins us now from 4th place. Hey, Dominic, congratulations on 4th, but unfortunately I know it was at least one spot out of where you wanted to be. You qualified 3rd. Talk us through your race today. Tell us how it was out there on the track, and tell us the story behind that Hesketh livery tribute.
Yeah, Trevor. Yeah, firstly, the livery, yep, I just saw it was available, and always been a fan of Formula 1 in the olden days, so I thought this was a good one. Back to the race though, yeah, I decided to make life difficult for myself, didn't I? That start. Just glad I was talking with the guys in the race afterwards. I'm glad I didn't catch anybody else with it. Managed to hold on to it, but dropped to last, obviously. And yeah, the race was a bit strange from then on. It was just running right to the end of the fuel tank and pitting, and you couldn't really stretch it to try and do it in any fewer stops as such. So just the way the yellows came out as well.
And yellow flag strategy, a big part of it, but it did look like you and Dan and Mike were in a good position there at the end to take advantage. If the yellows had fallen a little bit differently, you might have been able to come in with the group with about 10, 11 laps to go and come back out there, be in the lead, and have a chance to win this one. It's just kind of that crucial thing. You got to, you make all these strategy plans, right? And then sometimes it doesn't work out to necessarily your advantage. Tell us what that's like. I mean, you go through the race, you make plans, and then you kind of just have to deal with whatever you're given as far as the yellow flags, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see how much of left I had on the stints, and I saw the other guys, AJ, Graham, and that going in, and sort of splitting it fairly evenly on those last bits. And I thought about it, and I thought, if the yellow comes out, it helps. If not, there's not a lot I can do. And the gaps didn't really change terribly, so it was neither here nor there whether on what I did. I wasn't going to catch the guys at the front because they were in 3 of them going very quick. So it's just the way it worked out, really.
Well, that is the way that it worked out, and unfortunate for yourself. However, that's just the race, the way that the race plays out. Nevertheless, you've had some great runs here this season, and of course, taking pole position for the New Hampshire race at Loudon, which is a short track, and racing every single week pretty much towards the front. Dominic, I think you've got a strong chance headed into season 16 or season 1 of the International IndyCar Series, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of a change, just obviously with the name and that. Consistency's been my biggest problem, and that was last year as well, last season. So just need to sort of change that up, and hopefully it will all work out. Yeah.
Well, fantastic job here this season. Great racing here today, and I hope you enjoy your James Hunt tribute. And would you say if there was one F1 driver that you could have just taken their lifetime from them and be able to go race their life, would you have taken James Hunt's life and been able to go up there and race in Formula 1 against Niki Lauda and all the rest?
I think that time of Formula 1 was probably one of the best. It was a lot more, there's no electronics or anything involved, so that's when it was all pure and that more fun going racing rather than what it is now as a business.
Absolutely. I hear you, and it's kind of like these Indy cars. I mean, there's a lot of technical stuff going on, but not as many gizmos and widgets as going on over in Formula One right now. Great reason to be part of this IndyCar League, and great having you with us here, Dominic. Good luck next season, bud.
Yeah, thanks Trevor for the broadcast, and obviously Graham for the championship win, AJ for today's win. I'll just say thanks obviously to the likes of David for the setups he does week in, week out, and Stick with Quick for the sponsor, and CareCams for the sponsor of today's race.
Absolutely. Thank you for thanking all of them, and we thank you. We'll see you next time, Dominic.
Yep, that is.
So that was Dominic Hart, 4th place here today, but going to be able to look at next season and possibly take an even higher position in the points. I mean, I really expect some really good things out of Dominic headed into next season. He's had so many flashes of brilliance. So why don't we go ahead and talk with our race winner, and that'll give us a chance to spend a little bit more time with Graham Bunyan in a moment. So our race winner popping in, driving for the Team I5G team, and doing a one-off race here for the CareCams 250. AJ Burton taking victory. Hey AJ, great to have you with us. Another fantastic one-off race, and you came in, you look like you had no dust on you at all. There was no rustiness whatsoever. You look like you just stepped right off of an Indy race and right into this one. You were geared up, ready to go. A hell of a race. Great job. Congratulations.
I definitely didn't feel like that. I felt very rusty actually at the start of the race, and my first green flag pit stop in that race was the first time I'd done a pit entry at Indy since last year's 500. So that was pretty sketchy, but thanks for the compliments. Like, I'm very happy to be here. I don't often get to race in this league because weekend schedule, and we've had record-breaking temps this summer, so kind of don't want to get racing whilst I've got no aircon at the moment. But hopefully, over the next couple of seasons, as it gets a bit cool and my schedule frees up, I'll try to turn up more.
Oh, that would be wonderful. I know all the fans would love that, and it's obviously great to have someone of your caliber out here racing, and being able to take the fight to Strid and Bunyan and Lowe, Hart, some of the best racers that we have here in the league. We'd love to have you for more races, but talk us through today's race though. Seemed like you were engaged in draft swapping with Strid and Bunyan for most of the race. Was that pretty much the plan going through today? Were you just kind of feeling it out and thinking, well, I'm at the front, I got my friends by me, we'll do some draft swapping? Or were you trying to pull away from the other groups?
I mean, you pretty much nailed it. I've raced with Graham and Dave since I started in iRacing. They took me under their wing when I was a lot younger, when I just started, and I couldn't trust them more than anyone else on track. So I knew we three could work together, and if we executed our game plan, we'd be able to get the 1-2-3 finish like we did at the end. And yeah, we did try and break away from Jason and from Dominic. That's why we played that strategy at the end of the race to pit at the first possible moment. It gave them no draft, no ability to save, and it basically secured us the 1-2-3 finish had the race gone green like it did.
Well, and a perfect strategy play, and as you said, if it stays green. So of course there comes that point where you get to about 3/4 of the way through the race, you're either praying that a caution comes out or you're praying for no caution. And of course you were praying probably for no caution to come out so that it wouldn't group the whole group back together and they wouldn't be able to get that draft on you at the end. But still, talk us through the very final laps. We'll try to get that replay up there on the screen. You had a chance, of course, to make the pass on Graham Bunyan headed into turn 1, but you chose not to, which then gave you the chance to go ahead and set up for turn 3. So was that the plan? Just ignore the turn 1 pass and try and pass into turn 3? Was there more of a defensive strategy that you were intending at the end of that? Did it all go exactly to plan? What were you thinking at that point?
Yeah, so from what we figured out earlier in the race, the car coming second off of turn 4 could often get the run to pass at the start-finish line. And I would have thought that through and be, okay, I want to be P2 off of turn 4 and I was going to get the run on Graham. But I also thought, tyres are old, late in the race, track's getting a little bit hotter. I think if I can be ahead of Graham through turn 3, turn 4, and I run a semi-defensive line, which is what I did. I was about half a car width off the bottom. It just limits the run that Graham can get through turn 4, and I think he had to check up a little bit so he didn't hit the rear of my car, and that's what basically secured me the win at the line. I think that's something that my teammate at i5G, Brandon Traino's done a few times in Indy 500s. Obviously, he's the greatest at that track in iRacing. He's incredible. So you could say I learned a couple of tricks off him there to beat a driver Graham's caliber, which is, well, that's one of my greatest victories, to beat Graham, because Graham's an incredible driver, as his results here prove, and his iRating proves, and his reputation proves.
Absolutely. Yes, I've had the pleasure of racing behind Graham in a few official races for sure, but you mentioned some of your great teammates at i5G. Brandon Traino literally writing the book on the Dallara IR-18 IndyCar, as well as racing at Indianapolis in the IndyCar. So that's a great one to pay attention to. But of course, that other name on your livery, who many consider the greatest of all time in the IndyCar, Christopher Demerit, who continues in Indy Fix Series to put his name up there in the championships. So some great things going on at i5G, but AJ, I tell you what, this was your day. You looked awesome all day today. Anybody else you'd like to say thank you to before we move on?
Well, just everyone in the league. Like, I echo the sentiments of everyone else who's been here before, the sponsors, Dave for doing the setup, Jason for organising the races, then there's Rick, there's Dan, there's just everybody, a really good group of guys, and I'm lucky they let me race today, to be honest, because I know there's a little bit of controversy with people showing up for doing one race and maybe not coming other times. And they obviously know I want to race as much as I can, and like I say, I'll try and be there as much as I can next season, and hopefully that'll be a few more than just a couple of appearances, and maybe, fingers crossed, can take the fight to Graham in the championship.
And that would be something to behold. We'll keep our fingers crossed for more appearances by yourself, AJ. In the meantime, good luck with everything else that you're racing in and up to. And yeah, good luck in season 16. I know you'll have your hands full, and it'll be exciting for us to watch.
Thanks for having me, Trevor.
Absolutely my pleasure. So that was AJ Burton, your race winner here today for the Care Camps 250. Taking victory in a photo finish over his good friend Graham Bunyan. You heard it right here. And so that'll give us the chance now to talk to the man who we've had this conversations 4 seasons running now. This is now the 5th season consecutively that I get to congratulate and welcome Graham Bunyan here to Victory Circle, the Stick Quick Victory Circle, as he did not actually take victory today, but he did climb 2 positions, which is normally a good thing, but I think Graham could have taken that. He was real close to taking it. Nevertheless, 5th consecutive championship. Congratulations, Graham. How did you do it? And anything else that you want to talk about?
How did I do it? Hard work, perseverance. Look, congrats to AJ. Awesome competitor. He's always been a great driver, no matter when he's here. So, my hat's off to him, and I hope he does show up more next season. It'll be good. I'm going to retire now. No, I'm not. I think it's great. It's been a good season this season. It had its ups and downs at the start, and just perseverance prevailed and come through at the end. So it was good.
Absolutely. And that's the ups and downs. That's the trials and tribulations of season championship racing. And of course, the good news is there's 4 seasons a year that you can do that with in the US IndyCar League, as well as official racing. But nevertheless, the story from one week to the next. You never know what's going to happen, or if you're going to get taken out, if you're going to be a victor. And so the season marches on. How did it feel at the beginning of this season? When you had so many technical difficulties, you had your sim rig having issues, your computer was having issues, I think your VR headset was having issues. At one point, did you think maybe the championship was out of reach for you? Or did you feel like, no, if I can just get it back together again, I know I can climb back up and take this championship?
It's always something that's on my mind. Every time I sit in this goddamn sim rig and jump into a race, there's always something that's going to happen. And it's the biggest fear is my internet always dropping out, which is probably everybody else's fear as well. I I do have a backup plan for that, but the backup plan doesn't seem to be working properly either at the moment. So just touch wood, it hasn't happened since the beginning of the season. But yeah, I thought it may have happened a bit more through the season, a few little technical issues, but yeah, I thought it was a little bit out of reach. But then I started having a bit more luck again and got back up there. So yeah, it was tough, but once I got there, it was right. I sort of had it under control a little bit.
Well, you did pull it back together, and despite great challenges from Jason Lowe, I mean, Lowe didn't really, I mean, he had a technical issue as well towards the end of the season that kind of affected one of his races, but he stayed pretty consistent. He was a good challenger this season, and Strid came on very strong towards the end of the season. You know, kind of another indicator that if Strid had had the type of season at the beginning that he had at the end, he might have been the champion this season, as he's managed to do that to stay consistent up at the front. But you fought back hard. You took 5 victories here this season, almost an even 50% of the races, and you finished second by, I don't even think if you combine the margin of victory over the last 2 races, it would even be a tenth of a second.
But you know, I'm looking at the time right now, and it's the exact same time I lost to David last week. 0.010.
Oh, it's as close as it could get. What an amazing photo finish that was. Both weeks in a row. Definitely clip that and put it up on YouTube for anybody who wants to watch. But Graham, you've taken 5 consecutive championships here. You took a bunch of victories, pole positions. Obviously, we've got next season to look forward to, but you get, you know, a while to recuperate both from your surgery and to celebrate this championship. What does it mean to take 5 consecutive championships in a league that's a pretty tough one, such as this one? And how does it feel right now to be one of the elite drivers of IndyCar in the iRacing service?
Yeah, I don't see myself as an elite driver. I think there's a lot more better drivers out there than what I am. So I'm you know, I'm just one of those guys who are lucky at the end of the day, I think. But you know, it's, I don't know. Lost. I'm lost.
5 championships, Graham.
It's you know, this one's probably more important than anything else because, as you've announced a couple of times now, we're going to have a name change. So to take this one out, being the last, and I'm just trying to. I'm not sure. I don't think I took the original first one out. I'd have to have a look way back in the day. But to take the last one out and to go out with a bunch of great guys like this, and to start off a new chapter next season is going to be good. So
absolutely, and as you mentioned, changing to the International IndyCar League, which of course couldn't be more represented today by having 4 different nationalities in the top 5. And so, you know, obviously going forward to mean more for the league in terms of inclusiveness and in terms of getting more competitors from around the globe to pay attention. But in addition, as you mentioned, you know, the league, you took more championships than that early on, but the league has gone through some tumultuousness of itself and different personalities coming into and out of the league and different administration, but it's been solid for the last 5 seasons or so. The season a little bit more rocking the boat, but I think next season, season 16, is going to give a real chance for everybody to have a fresh start under a new banner and really take all this momentum that's been building this season between all of these racers, the consistency, the setups from David Strid, and all these new racers, including even AJ says he might pop in for a couple more races to give you a challenge. Hey, we've seen some 20-plus car grids. It's looking good for season 16.
Oh, look, definitely. And, you know, I think the name change is a good thing to be, you know, we're all international drivers. It's just not American drivers now. So it's all international. So, you know, it's open to everybody who wants to come on in and hopefully we get this thing to a big field, a lot more than 20 cars. I'd like to see it. And I think you will see a lot more competition and a lot of different winners. And I think you might just see a different champion next season. So, you know, I'm not going to give up without a fight. I'll definitely try and maintain that status of winning. But as it's proven this season, it's not won by winning every race. It's just about being consistent.
And that is 100% of it, is just being consistent, not making those big mistakes that take you out of the top 10 and take you out of that championship fight. Either way, Graham, Cream has risen to the top once again, and you didn't take victory here, but only by a small fraction of a second, and that's how close you were to practically perfect season. Graham, well done. That's 5 in the books. We'll see whether you can get that 6th straight one here in a couple of weeks, and good luck with season 16, and enjoy your championship. Enjoy all the free champagne and the enormous Borg Warner trophy that you get.
Oh wait, what trophy and champagne? Gee, I wish. That'd be really nice. I think it'd be great. And look, I just want to thank everybody who, again, shows up week in, week out, and a few of the boys have health problems. One myself, and a few others who have health problems, but they still manage to stick it in there, week in, week out. There's so many people to thank. Richard Kelbaugh for, continuous support with Stick Quick and bringing that in. Had some hard times through the last couple of seasons with, members, family members passing away and all that type of stuff. So it's been pretty tough couple of seasons, but, Jason Lowe, David Zaleski was there, and look, I wish him well as well. Whatever he does and whatever happens, may see him again, not too sure. But David Strid, week in, week out, just awesome setups, and he's been doing a lot of our setups for a long time before this league even started. And it's definitely a setup I'd race in competition. Definitely a little bit of a different setup for real competition, but it's I don't know. It's good.
It's all good to be Graham Bunyan today, and he's got 2 weeks to send thank you notices to anybody else that he wants to before he's got to gear up and start all over again. We'll see you next season, Graham. Congratulations again, and thank you for bringing the show every week and making it an exciting one for the fans out there to watch. We'll see you next season, bud.
No worries, thank you, and thank you for supplying the tools and the broadcast to broadcast this week in, week out. You do a great job, and I think you should be praised for it as well, so well done.
Well, thank you. So that's Graham Bunyan, heaping praise onto myself, but I make as many mistakes as I do things right here in the commentary booth. It's sort of like driving a Dallara IR-18 IndyCar in iRacing. You think you mess up a bunch, but then you end up somewhere in the top 3 at the end, and you take all the praise that anybody wants to throw at you. It's been a fantastic season here, season 15. AJ Burton taking victory here. You heard it from him live here at the end. Very gracious winner here, and we'll look forward to getting into more races. Graham Bunyan second, David Strid third. And, well, if you'd like to get involved with the US IndyCar League as a driver, as I mentioned, just head down in the description. Click on that link. It'll take you right over to the member page, and you can sign up just 2 weeks until the start of the next season. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and you'll get more of these videos put right into your daily feed. You'll get notified of the upcoming races. And finally, we'd love to thank, of course, Howard Livingston, who couldn't be here today, for bringing the carecamps.org group to our attention. Of course, what a fantastic group that does all of this work down in Florida. We played their information earlier, and so great to be able to bring that awareness. So head over to carecamps.org. And then Stick Quick, who has been with the US IndyCar League for multiple seasons in a row as the presenting sponsor. Head over to stickquick.com and you can get your presents for the upcoming holiday season today. If you're looking to get involved as a business sponsor to the US IndyCar League or to VirtualRacing.Network and some of the opportunities that we have upcoming, please make sure to send us a message. There is a link in the description as well, or you can find us on iRacing. We'll meet you in Discord. So with that, that'll be season 15 and another season in the books for the US IndyCar League, the final season. We'll see you the same place right here, VirtualRacing.Network. So yet another reason to subscribe. in 2 weeks, same time, 10 a.m. Eastern time on Sundays. We've got the IndyCars out here racing. You won't want to miss it. Get involved somehow. Send us a message. Thank you to everybody who has tuned in and watched over the seasons. We'll see you next time here on VirtualRacing.Network. I'm Trevor Greenfield, on behalf of all the competitors and the administration of the U.S. IndyCar League. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye, everybody.